I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a pair of lips that I've lost in the moment. All I want is for you to come back. Now I'm caught in the middle of love, and I need.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, your brother, and your friend Rashid. And right now, we're experiencing a little bad weather here, so it may be a little delay in the movement on the screen or whatever. But I want you to look past that. We have with us today, and I have to bring in quickly because I've been wanting to interview the Colonel for the longest, Colonel Karen Kowalski. I always mess up your name. I'm so sorry that I mess up your name.
It's no problem. Kalkowski.
All right. I want to, Colonel, I've been wanting to ask you this. I see you on Judge Knapp all the time. And I wanted to ask you, what is going on with the foreign policy of the United States? Because it seems like those in charge are doing more damage to the U.S. Republic and the U.S. empire than they are doing aid to it. It seems like everything that they're doing is to damage the empire and the republic instead of to stave off certain destruction.
Yeah, it does seem like that. It does seem like that. The things that they're doing are actually hurting America, whether that's America like the nation, or America the empire. Both of those entities, whichever one you think is better or whatever one you identify with, are both being harmed by the policies that are being pursued out of Washington. And they're really, Trump is a different kind of guy. Like we know, he's different. I think that's why he was elected, and he has kind of a kind of a character that you can't stop watching him. It's like it's a spectacle almost. But his policies have, we have a trajectory of foreign policy and really domestic policy too, which hasn't really changed much for a really long time. I would say since the second half of Reagan's term, and Herbert Walker Bush probably running it. Then you had Herbert Walker Bush, Clinton. We thought, well, Clinton's different, that's different, but really it wasn't. Nothing was different. It was all the same, seeking of, beefing up the empire, expanding the empire in the face of the end of the Soviet Union, of course, selling arms to everybody, everywhere, including arms that don't work very well. This is the other thing. Our empire is going along the same old for 45 years. And we wake up one morning, I don't know, maybe last year, and we discover that Russia has hypersonic missiles. We can't make them. We don't even know how to make them, much less produce them. So you've got that. You've got all kinds of other technology where the rest of the world has not just caught up with what the old American empire had to offer. They have exceeded it. They have done it faster, better, and cheaper than we can do. So, then you bring Trump online. And he's like, well, I want to rebuild America. I want to make America great again. Well, you really can't do that. We are so far behind that what we ought to do, foreign policy and domestic policy, is say, if we're a republic, what does a republic look like? Let's start acting like that. If we have a constitution, why don't we start honoring that? If we don't want to be an empire, because really that's not what we should be, then why don't we stop being an empire? But they can't stop. They cannot stop. They're locked in. And I think that's what you're talking about. We're locked into a trajectory that is not very good. And it's not just one step forward, 2 steps back. It's 1 step forward, 10 steps back. That's where we are right now in our foreign policy. I think. I mean, that's my opinion.
And it seems to me strange that the very nations that the United States need to buy the debt to keep financing the government are the very nations that they keep sanctioning and antagonizing and and constantly provoking through war games. And how is that even sound or rational judgment from so-called learned leaders?
Well, they're not that learned. I think that's something that all Americans are understanding. We're led by people um, that are they know actually a lot less than we do about a lot of the things that they are paid to know about. We're I'm not a professional. I learn this stuff by reading it. I ask questions. I do a little bit of research, not even that much, and I know more than most of the people running our government. Certainly more than the people in Congress. They don't know what they don't know. They don't care to learn it. They're just riding high on the rape. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what the government has been doing to this country. They're gathering up. Uh, they've raped it of its really good production and wealth and the quality of life that we like to think is American. But they're also doing it around the world. They're gathering up resources in this effort, and like you said about the money, in this effort to keep the dollar as the reserve currency, to keep the world purchasing our debt. The world is not stupid. Our leaders are stupid. They're we know more than our leaders do, but the rest of the world also does. We don't think the rest of the world knows anything. The rest of the world's been watching this for decades, and they're like, hey man, we actually hold the cards here. We don't have to buy American debt, particularly when America's future isn't looking like they're going to pay off very well. And really just the market. I mean, if you're going to offer, I don't know what the bond rate is, but it's not a high interest rate. It doesn't match the risk. So the normal market is going to say, I don't want that. I don't want that. Well, now what is America going to do? Can't sell their debt. They're just going to roll money. They're going to print it. And what does that do? Continues the downward trajectory of not just our quality of life, but our capability to run a country that adheres to the ideals. We like to think we're free. We like to think we're prosperous. Well, guess what? You might check those two things off, because when they start rolling the money, we get hyperinflation, war, which usually what follows. We're not free and we're not prosperous. And I don't even know if most Americans alive, well, if you're not going to do it, I'm just going to print my own money, greenbacks. And that's what they call greenbacks. And he printed some, but it was enough pressure putting that bad paper, worthless money in the system that the banks then backed him and gave him, the northern banks backed him and gave him the money to prosecute that war, which in my opinion wasn't necessary, but certainly didn't need to last for 4 years, but it did. And wars, advising them, our surveillance systems, our targeting for the Ukrainians, we are consulting at every level. We are at war with Russia, but Trump wants to say, oh, no, we're not. We're told we were getting a republic. We lost it. We need to get it back. I have no problems with that. We should get that republic back.
Mhm. Uh, well, we're having the connections, so I'm glad we got the last question in. And I want to thank you so much for joining us on the program. We got to have you back on, especially it's better weather out here, because I mean it's thundering real bad and it's lightning.
Well, I'm glad I could do it.
Thank you so much, Colonel, and be blessed and be safe. Thank you so much.
You too, Rashid. See you next time.
All right, bye-bye. Everybody, thank you for joining us on another edition of the most powerful platform for truth. I want to say this as we go off. Remember to do right by others, not because there's some material gain in it or because there's some accolades behind it, but do right by others because it's the right, the humane, and the godly thing to do. Because even when no one else is watching, remember God Almighty is watching. He may sit high, but he looks low, as my mother always said. And know that I love each and every one of you who loves truth. But know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. Thank you all for joining me. We're out of here. Peace. Good day.
was my first and last mistake. I'm blue without your face. But what can I do? 'Cause I'm just a sinking ship, and you're just a